loose out like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me. Welcome, everybody, to the stream. What is up, unicorns? It's your boy, Little Horn 13. We still have our rookie license. I'm really glad that I'm not at 1.15 safety rating. Oh my goodness, that's disturbing. That's disturbing. Rock me, mama, wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, southbound train. Hey, mama. I haven't been on this track. It's a new track for me. Kinda nervous. He's picking up and up and down. How about now? Rock me, mama, like wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Rock me. That guy's got a big gut. Got a big old gut. I think the beauty standard in America should be changed. I think it shouldn't be skinny people anymore. I think people with the guts, big old guts, beer bellies, big old bellies.
Top left.
There's the flag. It's over.
I could imagine racing with people on this track. guess I take this time to shout out my friend Ali Aftermath. Go check her out.
The estimated strength of field is 707.
There's a lot of people here. Hello, everybody. That's a lot of people. They're just here to see somebody crash. I know it. It won't be I. I will not crash. You guys remember Cars? You guys remember when Lightning McQueen, instead of finishing the race and getting first,
Waiting on the final
decided
cast
to
grid.
help a veteran racer finish his last race? That was something else.
Green flag, green flag.
That was something else. Crashing into me.
Right side. You're on the left, 3 wide. Right side, 2 wide. Clear on the right. Car right. Clear. There's an incident ahead.
This is a small track. Like, look, those guys just come. Like, if this was a real rally race, which it is, this would stop.
There's an incident ahead. Slow car ahead. Car stop on the left. Go right. Left side. Clear on the left. Go right.
This guy is running loose at the bolts.
Car stop on the right. Slow car ahead. Go left. Go left.
This guy is looks like an AI's driving. Do you see what
The car behind has gone off. You're back in fifth. Go right.
Like what?
fastest lap of the session. Just set the fastest lap, 38.636. That was your fastest lap of the session. P1, just set the fastest lap, 38.266. just set your fastest lap of the session. White flag this time. Checkered flag. Nice run, solid work.
I don't want to. I don't want to read. I don't want to continue to read the book, but I have to. I don't want to read this book, but I have to. Oh, let's go. +7. +7. Let's go. +7. Results and stats. 5th, 2nd, 9th, 7th, 9th, 10th, 5th. 6th, 9th, 10th, 10th, 9th, 8th. 10th. Oh, 36th. My position is 100,852. Wow. Wowie. I guess we gotta keep reading. Here we go. You can heal from the effects of abuse. If you feel overwhelmed reading about the long term effects of abuse, remember that you have already lived through the hardest part, the abuse itself. You have survived against formidable odds. The same abuse that undercut you has also provided you with many of the inner resources necessary for healing. One quality of every survivor can be confident of having is strength, and with an understanding of what it takes to heal, that strength leads directly to determination. As one woman stated emphatically, no one's gonna fuck with me and no more. Writing exercise, the effects. Write about the ways you're still affected by the abuse. Why are you still carrying in terms of your feelings of self worth, your relationships, your sexuality, your work? How is your life still pained, still limited? Write about the strengths you developed because of the abuse. Think of what it's taken you for you to survive. What are the qualities that enabled you to make it? Perseverance, flexibility, self sufficiency. Write about your strengths with pride. Honoring what you did to survive. My whole life has pretty much been coping. Coping is what you did to survive the trauma of being sexually abused, and it's what you do now to help you make it through each day. Everyone copes differently. As a young survivor, you might have run away from home or turned to alcohol or drugs. You might have become a superachiever, excelling in school and taking care of your brothers and sisters at home. You might have blocked out huge parts of your past, withdrawn into yourself, or cut off your emotions. You might have used food to numb your feelings or sex as a way to prove your worth, or you might have buried yourself in work. With limited with limited hmm, with limited resources for taking care of yourself, you survived using whatever means were available. Many survivors feel ashamed of the ways they coped. You may find it difficult to admit some of the things you had to do to stay alive. It may be hard to acknowledge what it takes now for you to get up and face each day. As a child in terrible circumstances, you responded the best that you could, and you have continued to do so. The crucial thing is that you survived. It's important to honor your resourcefulness. Everyone copes. All of us use coping strategies to deal with the overwhelming, painful, or stressful situations. Most of the strategies discussed in this chapter have been used at one time or another by people struggling to come to terms with a wide range of challenging circumstances. Some are more universal, others are more specific to survivors and may or may not apply to you. You may discover that some of the ways you've coped have developed into strengths. Being successful at work, becoming self sufficient, having a quick sense of humor, being adaptable, responding well in a crisis. Others may have become self defeating patterns drug or alcohol abuse, compulsive eating, cutting yourself, emotional withdrawal. Most coping behaviors have both healthy and unhealthy aspects. Being independent, for instance, is a good quality, but taken to the extreme, it can keep you isolated. Healing requires that you differentiate between the ways your coping mechanisms are beneficial and the ways they may be hurting you. Then you can celebrate your strengths while you start to change the patterns that no longer serve you. Core coping strategies. Denial. Denial is turning your head the other way and pretending that whatever isn't happening isn't, or that what has happened didn't. It is a basic pattern in alcoholic families. It's almost universal where incest is concerned. If I just ignore it long enough, it will go away. It's often more bearable for a child to deny reality than to face the fact that the adults around her won't protect her and, in fact, may harm her. One woman remembered the time a neighborhood boy told her that everyone knew that her father had been beating her the night before. They all heard her screaming, "I told him." "Oh, that wasn't me. My father would never beat me." Some survivors acknowledged that they were abused but denied that it had any effect. "I told my therapist I had already dealt with it." One woman said, "He believed me." Minimizing. Minimizing is pretending that whatever happened wasn't really that bad. It means saying, "My dad's a little pissed off," when in fact he just smashed an armchair to bits. Kids who live surrounded by abuse often believe that everyone else grows up the same way. Doesn't everyone father tuck his daughter into bed like that? Yeah, I minimized it. "Hey, so your dad puts his prick in your mouth. What's the big deal?" "Hey, up until 5 years ago, people would say to me, 'Were you from an abusive family?' And I'd say, 'No. After all, I didn't die. I was in the hospital with broken bones. But I didn't die. There was blood all over the place, but at least I made it." Rationalizing is the way children explain away abuse. "Oh, she couldn't help it. She was drunk." Survivors invent reasons that excuse the abuser. 4 kids were just too much for her. No wonder she didn't take care of me. Rationalizing protects the abuser and buffers the survivor against the impact of her feelings. There's a part of me that always wants to figure out, why the hell did he do it? What could have hurt this poor man so terribly that he would have to resort to these things? That's a way of dramatizing his story instead of mine. It's a way of trying to forgive instead of allowing the real anger and fury I feel. Forgetting. Forgetting is the most common way that children deal with sexual abuse. The human mind has a tremendous capacity to protect us from realities that are too painful for us to bear. Many children begin blocking out the abuse even as it is happening to them. I had a visual image of a closet in my mind. I shoved everything that was happening to me into the back of the closet, and I closed the door. This capacity to forget explains why so many adult survivors are unaware of the fact that they are abused or remember only parts of their experience. Some survivors remember the abuse but forget the way that they felt at the time. One woman, repeatedly molested throughout her childhood by her stepfather and her brother, said, "I had totally and completely repressed that it had even been uncomfortable." Presenting a facade to the world. One of the ways survivors cope with realities they cannot face, and the terrible shame they feel, is to cover over their real feelings with an acceptable facade. On the surface, there is a little girl having a good childhood, but underneath, there's a child who's prone to nightmares and seeing terrifying people hiding in the corner of the room. Many survivors continue this pattern into adulthood. On the inside, you feel evil and bad and know that something is very wrong. But on the outside, you present a different front. Laura remembers. At 21, I was lying in my bed, unable to get up, watching the bugs march across my sheets, thinking I would either kill myself or go crazy. A half hour later, I turned around and wrote my mother another cheery letter about how well I was doing. I was desperate to maintain the facade. But the veneer is often very thin. A 56-year-old psychotherapist explains the way she acted out the split in her life. Growing up, I did everything super right. I was an overachiever. I was an A student all through college. I was a Fulbright scholar in London. I was considered a huge success. I developed a total false personality based on what you were supposed to be and hid myself. My interpersonal relationships were exchanges of displays, nothing more. I got by because of money and status. Underneath that false personality was a blankness, and underneath the blankness was a tremendous rage. I was sure that if I ever allowed my behavior to manifest any sign of the problems I had inside. Everything would crumble up entirely, and I'd end up in an insane asylum or police lockup. Humor. A tough sense of humor or biting wit can get you through hard times. As long as you keep people laughing, you maintain a certain protective distance. And as long as you keep laughing, you don't have to cry. What My Father Told Me by Doreen Laux. Always I have done what was asked. Melmac dishes stacked on rag towels, the slack of a vacuum cleaner cord wound around my hand. Laundry hung on a line. There's much to do always, and I do it. The iron resting in its frame, hot in the shallow pan of summer as the basins of his hands push aside the book I am reading. I do as I am told. Hold this penis like the garden hose. In this bedroom, in that bathroom, over the toilet, or my bare stomach. I do the chores, pull weeds out back, finger stink bug husks, snail carcasses, pile dead grass in black bags. At night, his feet are safe on their pads, light on the wall to wall as he takes the hallway to my room. His voice, the hiss of lawn sprinklers, wet hush of sweat in the hollows. The mucus still damp in the corners of my eyes as I wake. Summer ends. Schoolwork doesn't suit me. My fingers unaccustomed to the slimness of a pen, the delicate touch it takes to uncoil the mind. History, a dateline pinned to the wall. Beneath each president's face, a quotation. Pictures of buffalo and wheat fields. A wagon train circled for the night. My hand raised to ask the question, where did the children sleep? For years, I used humor to deflect the pain and the shame I felt talking about incest. The humor was, of course, the gallows variety. It often pointed out the absurdity of the American ideal, the family surrounded by a white picket fence, with blood dripping down the painted slats where the daughters had been sacrificially skewered. It was my way of telling the truth about something I wasn't sure anyone would believe if they hadn't lived through it. Once I asked my therapist about my sense of humor, my use of humor. It didn't seem right to laugh about these things. He told me, humor is the only way of dealing with tragedy. Other people destroy themselves or others, or they start fires or drink themselves to death. Of all the possible ways there are to deal with pain, with deep pain, you have chosen one that is fairly harmless and that affirms life with laughter. Fuck. I didn't want... Shit.
The estimated strength of field is 1,075. A lot of opportunities today. Head down. Pick your battle. Still waiting on 2 cars to grid. Waiting on the final car to grid. Everyone's gridded. Green, green, green. You got it. Slow car on the right. Car stop on the left. You got it. Slow car on the right. Go left. Go left. Slow car ahead. Slow car on the right. Car stopped ahead. You got a slow car on the left. Car stopped ahead. Go left. Car 8 has taken the lead. The car behind you is pitting. New fast flat for you. car in P1 just set the fastest lap. 38.94. New fastest lap for you. You're losing on the car in front. The gap is 7.1 seconds. Slow car ahead. Car stop on the right. Go left. The leader is running 39.212. The car in P2 just set the fastest lap. 38.92. job.
Oh, it feels so good to stretch right now. +4? +6. Holy mackerel. Holy mackerel. Oh, can we sign up for the next? Nice. We're hitting pretty good timing with these races. We're going start and start, race, stop, race, hit the next race. We're hitting pretty good strides right now. Disassociation. Children who are abused often disconnect from their bodies so that they will not feel what is being done to them. When an experience is too painful to endure, children emotionally and physically separate from the experience because they cannot physically escape. They leave their bodies. Dude, I remember this. Dude, I remember this, dude. I remember saying to myself, I cannot believe what is happening. And then I remember leaving my own body. As a result, survivors often describe watching the abuse happening as if from a great distance. It's like I actually rise up out of my body. I could feel myself sitting in a chair, and I could feel myself floating up out of my body. That's exactly what it's like, being suspended in midair. I know that my body is in the chair, but the rest of me is out of my body. This process is called disassociation. While it is an excellent coping strategy for children, enabling them to endure unbearable situations, it can create problems for adult survivors. Disassociation often becomes a habit, and many survivors continue to disassociate, at least to some degree, whenever they feel threatened or scared. A good part of the time, I'm not present in my body. It's as if inside, from my neck down, it's hollow, and there's this ladder, and depending on how things are going, I'm climbing up the ladder, and this little person that is me is sitting in my head, looking out through my eyes. Others go somewhere that they can't identify. I can't tell you what happens when I leave my body because I'm not there. Dissociative identity disorder. There's no way to physically escape the pain, terror, and despair of severe abuse. Children sometimes create new selves, also known as alternate personalities, to separate from the abuse and to bear the burden. This may occur to such a degree that it meets the criteria for the diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder, DID. Formerly known as multiple personality disorder. Disassociating to this extent is a highly successful adaptation to otherwise intolerable pain. Even though finding out about the existence of separate personalities may be shocking, it's essential to remember that this ability and these internal selves enabled you to survive extreme trauma. The fact that you did is a miracle. The problem is not primarily one of Surviving doesn't feel like a miracle. Feels like hell. Like a pan. I'm a piece of bacon being fried. Disassociating to this extent is a highly successful adaptation to otherwise intolerable pain. Even though finding out about the existence of separate personalities may be shocking, it's essential to remember that this ability and these internal cells enabled you to survive extreme trauma. Whoa. 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 Whoa.
皆さん、本日はレースをお越しいただきありがとうございます。次のイベントで出会いましょう。
There is a little Smeagol me, evil and afraid, cautious and willing to survive. Whoa. Whoa. I do I I do have this. I do have this. The problem is not primarily one of fixing yourself because you have this disorder, but rather addressing and healing the trauma that made this way of coping necessary in the first place. Sometimes it's difficult for survivors with DID to accept and appreciate their inner selves. Some alternate personalities may appear hostile, weak, or in some other way be disturbing to you. You may wish to get rid of them, but it's essential to remember that every alternate personality developed to fill a need. And given the limitations of the situation, they fulfilled those roles in the best way they could. Everything you've done, even if it doesn't look like it makes sense now, has its own intrinsic logic, which is sane and rational. Healing with multiple personalities is more complex than the healing process for survivors who have not separated into different selves. Each alternate personality holds part of the experience. Each needs to be involved in the work of healing, and all need to learn to work together. However, there can be benefits too. There is the potential for an internal system of support and collaboration that can be very valuable. Many survivors with multiple personalities have internal helpers, wise healers, and inner guides, as well as an alternate personalities who are good at going to work, driving, and taking care of business even in the midst of crisis and chaos. As a creative and highly intelligent way of coping with and surviving extreme abuse, The ability to distinct selves is a formidable testimony to the resourcefulness of the human mind and spirit. As you learn to understand and respect the ways your mind has worked, not only to keep you alive, but also to preserve and enhance your strengths and capacities, you can offer yourself an attitude of acceptance, understanding, and honor. Spacing out. Survivors have an uncanny capacity to space out and not be present. There are many ways to do this. I walked into walls and doors and furniture a lot because I wasn't in my body, but a few bruises were a small price to pay for oblivion. Whenever something scares her, one survivor finds an object in the room and stares at it, just as she did when she was being abused. I have total recall of the most intimate details of different rooms I've been in. I can't remember who I was talking to or what we were talking about, but I sure can tell you exactly what the window looked like. Other survivors give the appearance of being present when they're not really there. I spend a lot of my time spacing out and disappearing. I pride myself on how slick I am. I have been known to sit there and totally be gone, and then to come back and have no idea where I am in a conversation. I'll have been talking the whole time, and what's really weird is that most people don't even notice I'm gone. The problem with this kind of distancing is that you not only cut yourself off from the pain, but miss the richness of life and human connection as well. Strategies to protect yourself. Avoiding people. Survivors sometimes isolate themselves because they feel damaged and unlovable. Undeserving. Dude. Undeserving of kindness, love, and concern. Or they may have never learned how to reach out, initiate a conversation, or establish a connection with another person. But human contact is a basic need. The lack of such relationships leads to loneliness, alienation, and despair. I knew I was different. Something was wrong with me, and the other kids knew it. They could smell it on me, and when kids sense a weakness, well, you know what happens. So I did everything I could do to make myself stand out more. I wore my weirdness as a flag. When the other kids saw they couldn't get a rise out of me, they left me alone. My only friends were people I met online, when I could pretend to be someone else. I can honestly say I've never had a real friend. Avoiding intimacy. If you don't let anyone get close to you, no one can hurt you, as one woman explained. I gotta get on the grid.
The estimated SOF is 1,055. Let's take opportunities.
Look at all these people out here. Well then, let's give them a show. False start.
Green, green, green. There's an incident ahead. Car right, clear on the right, go left. Go left. Go left.
I'm in danger.
You're in fourth position.
Dude, are you kidding me,
Clear.
dude? Are you fucking kidding me?
You've got wheel damage. Car on your left. Here on the left. You've got wheel damage.
Couldn't help myself.
fastest lap, 39.741. New fastest lap for you. You got a slow car on the right.
This is going to
Car on your left. Clear on the left. The car in P1 just set the fastest lap. 39.68. On your left. Still there. Still there. Clear on the left. Go right. The leader consider 40.101. Just set your fastest lap
Not only
to
did he crash,
You got it. Slow car on the right. Car stop on the right. The car in front has gone off.
not only did he crash, but he tried to take me with him.
lap. You're now in third. There's checkered flag.
There goes the
Great job. You did really well.
let it go, let it go. The perfect girl is gone. Here I stand. Here I stand. Let the world rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway. I have to pee. I have to pee. No! Minus 10! Minus 10! No! Minus 1! Minus 10! I'm not eligible to complete in this series. I just had to be a speed demon, didn't I? Like who is watching? Who is watching this? Okay, back to reading. Here we go. Public therapy. This is awesome. Strategies to protect yourself. Avoiding people. Sometimes survivors sometimes isolate themselves because they feel damaged and unlovable, undeserving of kindness, love, and concern. Or they may have never learned how to reach out, initiate a conversation, or establish a connection with another person. But human contact is a basic need. The lack of such relationships leads to loneliness, alienation, and despair. I knew I was different. Some I knew I was different. Something was wrong with me, and the other kids knew it. They could smell it on me, and when kids sense a weakness, well, you know what happens. So I did everything I could to make myself stand out more. I wore my weirdness as a flag. When the other kids saw they couldn't get a rise out of me, they left me alone. My only friends were people I met online when I could pretend to be someone else. I can honestly say I've never had a real friend. Avoiding intimacy. If you don't let anyone get close to you, no one can hurt you, as one woman explained. You can't be in an abusive relationship if you don't get in relationships, another added. I kept myself safe and alone. Some survivors go to great lengths to limit intimacy. One woman said, I can stop being friends with someone and never think twice about it. Another had relationships only with men who lived a great distance from her. One of them was a plane ride away. The other didn't have a car. That was really good. Two Pictures of My Sister by Doreen Lux. If an ordinary person is silent, it may be a tactical maneuver. If a writer is silent, this is lying. Jaroslav Safer. The pose is stolen from Monroe, stuck in the sun's floodlight. Eyes lowered, a long-stemmed plastic rose between her teeth. My cast-off bathing suit hangs in folds over her ribs, straps cinched, pinned at the back of her neck. Barefoot on the hot cement, knock-kneed, comical if it weren't for the graceful angle of her arms, her flesh soft against the chipped stucco. The other picture is in my head. It is years later. It is in color. Blonde hair curls away from the planes of her face, like wood shavings. She wears a lemon yellow ruffled top denim, cutoffs, her belly button squeezed to a slit above the silver snap. She stands against the hallway while her dad shakes his belt in her face. A strap of skin has been peeled from her bare shoulder. There are snake lines across her thighs, a perfect curl around her long neck. She looks through him, as if she could see behind his head. She dares him. Go on. Hit me again. He lets the folded strap unravel to the floor, holds it by its tail, bails the buckle off her cheekbone. She does not move or cry or even wince as the welt blooms on her temple like a flower opening frame by frame in a nature film. It lowers her eyelid with its violet petals, and as he walks away, only her eyes move, like the eyes of a portrait that follow you, around a museum room. Her face, a stubborn moon that trails the car all night, stays locked in the frame of the back window. No matter how many turns you take, no matter how far you go, some survivors avoid intimacy in less overt ways, seeming open and friendly on the surface but hiding real feelings inside. One survivor had a 10 official secrets list that she freely shared. I'll tell people things about myself that seem too personal to share, but I don't really trust them or get close to them. They don't know what I feel inside. I hardly ever share that. Avoiding sex. Many survivors go to great lengths to avoid sexual contact. I intentionally married a man who was basically asexual. He was 3 times a year man, and he was absolutely perfect. When we wanted to get pregnant, I took my temperature. The conception of my children was as close to artificial insemination as you can get. Others numb their bodies so that they no longer respond. Part of the way I coped with the fact that some of the incest felt good was by saying, "It will never feel good. Sex will never feel good." Because it felt good when it shouldn't have. So I don't ever feel. I don't pay attention to sex. I don't care about it, and it doesn't make me feel anything. The other person is happy when it's done, and I can't wait until I'm out of the situation so I don't have to do it again. Maintaining control. Control is a theme that runs through the lives of many survivors. I have a tremendous attachment to things going my way. It feels like if I'm going to die if I don't get my way. There are a lot of small, everyday interactions that make me feel tremendously out of control. Survivors often go to great lengths to keep their lives in order. My shoes have to be put back in the same place at night. My room is always neat. When I come to work in the morning, I have this whole routine of putting the pen in a certain place, my keys in a certain place. Wherever I can maintain control, I do it, because there were so many places as a kid where I didn't have any control. For many survivors, this need for control extends to people as well as to things. You may find it difficult to negotiate or compromise. An intense need for control can make it hard to see someone else's point of view, and accommodating someone else's preferences can feel extremely threatening. Hypervigilance. As a child, tuning into every nuance of your environment may have saved you from being abused. Now you may always need to be aware of where you are in a room. You sit where you can watch the entrance, making sure no one can sneak up behind you. You might also be hyper aware of people, also anticipating their needs and moods. Woman said she was a confirmed gossip for just this reason. If she kept track of what everyone was doing around her, no one could ever surprise her again. Creating chaos. Paradoxically, survivors sometimes maintain control over their environment by creating chaos. If your behavior is out of control, you force the people around you to drop what they're doing to respond to your latest crisis. In this way, you become the person calling the shots. As Laura's father used to say, a family is a dictatorship run by its sickest member. Like children of alcoholics, survivors are often good at both creating and resolving crises. One survivor, Geraldine Munyon, explains, "They say that humans tend to gravitate toward what is comfortable, what they know. If this is true, then explains why more than often than not, you find survivors in the midst of chaos. Not only are they familiar with it, they handle it beautifully. I could handle any extraordinary circumstance and in fact felt my element in those situations, but put me into the everyday world and I was very freaked out. I have always been hysterical in the midst of normalcy. Before I found out that I was a survivor, I wondered why my life was filled with traumatic situations. Not only did I not have any middle ground, I was terrified at the thought of it. Whenever my life would calm down, I would start with I would start with wishing for something major to happen so I could feel at home. While other people were looking for ways to put themselves on the edge, I could never get off of it. Safety at any price. One way to achieve control, or at least to attempt it, is to make choices that are secure and predictable. You take few risks, sacrificing opportunities for protection. I married a man who would be stable, who wouldn't leave me, and above all, would not be intrusive. He was the rock. I didn't really have anything. I didn't really have to do anything. I just clung to my husband. He was a high status, high achiever, and I shone in his glory for a long time. I lived in his protectorate for 22 years, and that's how I survived. Seeking safety in religion. Survivors sometimes seek safety and control by attaching to a belief system that has clearly defined rules and boundaries. Searching for security and forgiveness. Marilyn's story. I found some security in a born-again Baptist group when I was about 15. The evangelist talked about how bad we all were and how our sins could all be forgiven. Everybody went to Bob Jones University with the pink and blue sidewalks, where the boys walked on the blue and the girls walked on the pink. We all wanted to go to the Bob Jones. It was the ultimate. We were always out on the streets, evangelizing, handing out tracts, witnessing to all our friends. Church was a release. It gave me the structure. If you do this and this, then you will be okay. There are formal do's and don'ts that get you from the pulpit, and there are informal ones you get from your friends. You know which stores to buy clear clothes in and which clothes to buy. You know which kinds of nightgowns to wear, and you know which kinds of sexual activities with your husbands are all right, which ones are not allowed. You you all cook the same things. You raise your children in the same way. The point being that if you do those things, you're going to be all right. I thoroughly believe that God intervened in the details of everything I did, including grocery shopping. I believe that as long as I was walking in the light, nothing was going to happen to me that God wouldn't allow. I knew that if I couldn't make a decision, all I had to do was wait, and God would tell me. I took no responsibility for my life. It was wrong for me to do so. What I had to do was find God's will in everything I did. I'd go to the store, and the sofa I had been looking at would be on sale, and if it was God's will, that I would buy it. I used to teach Bible studies for women. The teachings I lived by and taught for so many years were fascinating womanhood and the total woman. I just cringe when I think of those women, and I hope they have discarded what I taught them. One of them would be a little rebellious, and I would tell her that she'd better knuckle under to her husband. I would quote scripture and verse. I allowed no doubt, none. I just lapped those things up because they gave me great security. I knew I'd be forgiven for what a bad person I was. Time to grid. Okay. Can't wait to get crashed
The
into.
estimated strength of field is 929. We expect to be fighting for the podium.
That's not true.
Still waiting on 2 cars to grid. Green, green, green. There's an incident ahead. You got a slow car on the left. Left side, clear on the left. Car stop on the left. There's an incident ahead. You got a slow car on the right. Car stop on the right. Go left. on your left. Clear. Car 7 has taken the lead. Just set your fastest lap of the session. flat for you. The leader is running 39.202. That was your fastest lap of the session. You're in fifth.
No. Plus 7 points. Plus 7 points. We missed the 6:15. Dang it. Now we gotta wait till 6:30. And then we have to race V. No. Why do we gotta race V? I don't want to race V. They're like bubble cars. I think I might just call it for now. I just gotta be patient.